this is Steve with Smitty's Flybox, and today we're going to tie a Elk Hair Caddis. So what I have here is a dry fly hook. This is a size 14. I'm using uni thread 6/0 right there. I'm going to be tying with Nature's Spirit, elk hair, really good stuff, and some whiting hackle. So to start off, I'm just going to attach my thread right on the hook, over the top away from me, and just lay down a little even layer of thread. Once I have that locked in, I'm going to just come forward a ways like that. Snip off the excess. First thing I'm going to do is I have some fine wire, and we're going to tie that in along the hook shank just in front of me. I'm trying to avoid the front part of that hook. I don't want to crowd the head, so I'm just laying that wire along the hook and tying it down all the way back to just before that hook bends, just directly above the barb of the hook. That's where I'll stop. We're going to let that hang for just a second. And the first thing I'm going to do is just take some dubbing. I'm going to use this olive colored dubbing. And I don't need much, kind of a wisp there. And it's real easy to get too much dubbing. And I'm going to just coat my thread and just spin that on. Again, I'm just one direction from the tip of my finger up my finger like that. I'm not going back and forth like that. I'm just spinning that on, and I'm trying to coat a nice little section of thread there, a couple inches. I can always add some more as I go. But I want to build this taper moving up the hook, getting a little thicker as I go. So I need one more little section, so I'll get about the same amount, and just repeat that to about an eye length back behind the eye of the hook. And so I'll just continue dubbing up the hook shank there. And again, trying to get a little thicker as I go. And I'm going to add just one more little section right there. It's a lot easier to add than it is to take off, so avoid the temptation of getting too much dubbing there. So let's fill that in a little bit, about right there. So notice I've left about an eye length back, where I'm going to keep that clear because that's where I'm going to put my elk wing in. Now what I have is we're going to tie in some hackle. So I have a nice long piece of this regular old saddle hackle. I'm going to start with the butt section here, and let's just preen some of those fibers back. And I like to just clip a little section there like that and leave those little barbs sticking there. Then I have a little tie-in. And I'm going to just lay those right there, right on the top, just like that. Secure that stem in there with some good tight wraps, like so. Now I can begin wrapping this hackle back towards the back, so I'll go over the top away from me, just working my way back, and just evenly spacing those out. And once I reach the tail end there, I'll just hold that wire straight up, or I'm sorry, that hackle. Now we'll take our wire here and we're going to wrap in the opposite direction. So I'm going to come over the top away from me again, but working my way forward. And you may need to kind of wiggle that through that hackle like that, so we don't capture any of those hackle barbs. And this will make this fly way more durable. And once I reach the little section there, again, I'm trying to keep that eye length fairly clear. I'll just hold that with my right hand and drop my thread over with my left hand a couple times, and then give it a couple more good tight wraps to secure that in. You can just pop off the back hackle there, and we can just pop off the front wire there. If we need to, we can pinch down that little burr end right there. Let's just make a few more turns and cover that up. Okay, now we're ready for our elk wing. So what I've got here is just some really good elk hair. The trick is, how much do I get? I always tell people, try to get about these are some just regular standard scissors here. I like to try to come in here, get about half those scissor full amount, and get about the first 2 rows of that elk hair, something like that. And that's what I'm going to trim off and put into our hair stacker. So once we've got those tips down into our hair stacker, carefully turn it so the tips are going to be pointing out the back, and I'm going to just slide the back half of the stacker out, and that should bring those tips in there. And I should have a nice little kind of a paintbrush. Now I can gather those. All right, and I'm going to measure those. So I want those tips to extend just past the bend of the hook right there. Once I have that, I'll switch it to my left hand, and now I'm going to come in here and gather. I'm going to make one loose wrap. I'm going to make one loose wrap just to kind of gather and just add a little tension. And you notice how those butts will flare. Let's add another wrap, a little more tension. And notice I'm not letting go with my left hand, because that hair is going to want to rotate around the hook. So 3 good wraps. Now as I can let go. Let's just bring the butts up and make a couple of wraps right up underneath, like so. We can push those back. Okay. I'm going to come back and make one more good wrap around like that, and that secures that elk hair right up on top. All right, now I'm going to do my whip finish right here underneath everything. So we'll pull everything back, and I'm going to come around. We'll just put a good whip finish right there. Okay, and now we can trim off that excess. Okay, now let's just come under here with a little head cement or super glue. Now to trim these off, let's just try to gather all these butts right here. And I like to just come right in here, even with the eye of the hook, and trim that off. I missed one there. I got one more right there that I missed. And there's the Elk Hair Caddis.